to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today's episode, Black Lives Matters, features my friend Nicole White, the CEO and principal designer of Nicole White Designs Interiors, a full-service boutique interior design firm located in Sunrise, Florida. You may remember, and I hope you do, remember Nicole from episode number 366. We talked about her design business there. We talked about her client questionnaire and how she gets press and the confidence that she has in being an interior designer. Like the other shows in my Black Lives Matter series, today our conversation is different. Today, Nicole shares with us her feelings, her emotions, and desires for her business, her family, and for our industry. And she shares these through her experience of being Black. As a trained journalist and Jamaican immigrant, Nicole has a unique perspective on what we can do together to affect lasting change that will matter for everyone. Before we get into our conversation, I would like to thank our show sponsor, Kravet. Have you opened your trade account at Kravet yet? Please go to kravet.com, Kravet.com, and open your trade account today. You have furniture, fabric, trims, wallpaper, lighting. Don't forget you have curatedkravet.com as well. Okay. If you already have a trade account with Kravet, then don't forget you can use the code AWDB10 one time for 10% off any Kravet wallpaper, fabric, or trim order. So please specify Kravet for your next project. Save that 10%. Put it towards something for you. Put it for something for your business. Put it towards something for marketing. Put it towards a day, of fun for yourself. But make your money work for you. And Kravet wants to help you do that. So use the code AWDB10 for any one purchase of Kravet, fabric, wallpaper, or trim. All right, let's get to the interview with Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hey, LuAnn. It's so good to be back. I feel like such a LuAnn podcast veteran.
That's right. You are. Episode 366, Nicole, right? That's back in the day now.
That's decades ago. My goodness.
It's the truth. And you know what's one of the things that stands out to me from that episode that I'm wanting to ask you is I remember you're saying that you were contemplating going for your GC license. And then I think I saw you at one of the markets thereafter. And I'm just wondering, did you decide that that was a good decision for you to do, or have you gone on to other things and that ended up not being important for your business structure?
That ended up I just could not find the clones on the team to make me do it. So it's one of those bucket list things that, man, I really want to, but we are so busy. And is it a mandate for my firm right now? No. Right. So still something that everyone says, why aren't you a GC yet? And I'm like, I know, but COVID stepped in this year. So
well, and there's all seasons for our business, to do the things that we want to do. And just because we have an intention to do it and we haven't done it yet doesn't mean we're not going to get to it, right? So.
Exactly. And it's funny because designers call me all the time with contractor questions all day long because they're not used to renovation. So I'm always laughing you need to just go do this. But, everything in its right season, I say.
Well, I'm not surprised that they call you. You certainly are a leader, a role model in our industry. I know that when anytime I have a panel that has something to do with the big ticket items or design build, it's like, get Nicole. Let's get Nicole, right? So today, Nicole, though, we're here because we are doing our continuing series of Black Lives Matter. And, for me, it was a realization that while I have had, thankfully, the opportunity to interview over the last several years so many Black interior designers, before this happened, it never would have occurred to me to ask any of the questions related to your business or your personal life through the filter of being Black. This is one of my big aha lessons of having these conversations and all of the reading that I've been doing in these last several months. And so that's why I've asked each of you who are interested, and some have said, I'm not interested in talking about that. Maybe my heart isn't ready, or I'm just not interested in doing that. But for those like yourself that are interested, I thought, let's do this. Let's have a chance to have the conversation where you get to tell us the other side of what business is like for you and life is like for you. So coming today, Nicole, how do you want to start the conversation? What aspect would you like to begin with?
Well, LuAnn, there's a lot to the conversation, obviously. And I will say, to your credit, you have had so many Black designers on your podcast over the years, not just because we're Black, but because we're talented and you wanted to showcase us. So I think that's one of the things that Black Lives Matter and the movement has tried to zero in on, that, call designers, feature designers consistently, not just because we're Black, but because we are talented and we do this all day long. So you've done that. But yes, it's, I feel like in the design world, we've also shied away from having pure, unfiltered conversations about what it's like to be Black in this business. And so it's been horrific that it's taken so many deaths of Black men, Black children, Black women, Brianna, everyone who's suffered this year and many, many years. And it's not ending. That's the pain. We've seen so many more since Brianna and others, right? So the agony and the movement that's happened has really been phenomenal to see, where the entire country, for the most part, because we know not everyone shares the belief that Black lives should matter, interestingly enough. It's been, let me try to find the word. I think we're finally saying, like, Jesus, thank you for having the conversation. Thank you for trying to understand and see where we're coming from, not just as designers, but as just Black people living and working in this country. So for me, when George Floyd happened this year, and I made the mistake, and you remember, I am a journalist by training.
Yes, I do remember that.
So I have covered murders, mayhem. I've seen people decapitated. I've seen horrible things as a news reporter back in the day. And so when I switched gears and switched to design, it's been funny because I don't watch the news per se. I don't have CNN. I listen, but I don't watch it. And I made the mistake that night of watching the police officers, like, him take his last breath. But I didn't know that was coming. I never knew we were going to witness his death in front of
you were watching it in real time as it was unfolding.
Yes. And I remember gasping, and just crying, because I could not, I'd seen horrible things in life, but I could not believe I just saw this with zero compassion, this police officer's knee on his neck, and everyone screaming, he's done, like, get off his neck. Yeah. And it was like he was like a zombie. Nothing was resonating with this man. So to witness that, and then I had to sit and explain things to Xavier because it was everywhere. And, I'm raising a young Black boy, which is no easy feat in America.
No, it's not.
And so those are the things, the conversations that have been forced to the forefront, is what's been important to me, because yes, I am a designer, but I also, unlike my white counterparts, I have to tell my son, I have to also do different things as a mom. Like, a white designer can just, pack her kid up for the day, drop him off, or if he's a teenage boy, give him the keys to her car and be like, peace out, right? as a Black mom, that is not the case. I have to prepare Xavier, and he's only 8. We've already had the talks about how to speak to police officers, how to carry yourself, what to say, who you are, and that things will matter because of your skin. So that's another layer to life that most, of our design colleagues are not dealing with. And so the conversation has been needed to understand, what, I can talk to Nicole or any other Black designer any day of the week, but do I really understand what she's going through or what he's going through? Have I ever tried to figure out what it must be like? And so that to me is what's been important, not just in the design world, but just in the entire conversation that's been unfolding. I've had colleagues from my reporter days and from other corporate jobs just, reaching out saying, I'm sorry, wow, like I never stopped. And that was a little shocking to me. I will be honest with you that it took these murders and this national outcry for people who I know personally to say to me, and I got a flood of texts, and I'm sure other designers you spoke to may have said the same thing, and phone calls saying, what can I do? How can I help? And it's been like, listen, all I've ever needed from anyone is to care. Is to have an inkling of what is it like. And so I didn't respond to a lot of texts that I got. And it was just a matter of, first of all, I am not here to teach. Don't come to me for you to teach you everything. I can't.
Right.
That's another burden that you want to place on me, right? I acknowledged some of the texts, but then I just felt I was in so much pain after seeing that man die on national television that I was off Instagram for days. I didn't even know how to function. And I just could not, I kept having nightmares. Like I literally just saw this. And so it was, for me, it's not just for our white colleagues and friends to say, tell me what to read, show me what to do.
Right.
It's no, go get yourself go get educated. Right. Go read. Google is your friend. Like you can Google anything in the world, right? Yes. Go Google the top 10 movies to watch about Black lives and what they go through, or anything. Read a book, do something, and then call me and say, Nicole, I read this book and I want to know if you did too, and can we talk about it so I can share and learn some more. And I prefer that approach where we're both coming from a place of some knowledge being gained, and then we can have a proper dialogue, right? I'm not here to be a teacher all day long and to show everyone the way. I'm here to say, okay, you're showing your part, and I'm gonna, okay, let's talk about it. So yeah, we all went through that flood of, how can I help? What can I do? And it's like, and then again, guess what? And that was it. I never heard from a lot of those people again. Well, and that's disingenuous, right? Right. If you truly want to effect change and make sure this movement does not die, because that is the concern right now, that this blows over and everybody goes back to normal, then the conversations need to keep happening. And you need to be a lifelong ally. I think this allyship I'm seeing everywhere, it cannot be a temporary mandate for the brands who are reaching out, for the people who are trying to understand. You have to commit yourself to this cause for life, and not just say, oh, I learned today and that's okay. I see she has to talk to Xavier and explain to him how hard it is going to be for him, and he's got to be respectful and say things to officers and not talk back. No, let's stay on top of this for life, as long as we're all here. So that this will eventually not be a thing. Like by the time Xavier and his kids and his kids are grown, that we don't even, we are on some equal footing or as close to possible as we can get. So I think that is my desire and my push and my drive, and what I talk to white colleagues about. It's like, hey, be an ally for life and speak up when you see something that's just not right. Period.
I 100% agree with you. This is the point, that it is our responsibility together, whites especially, to keep the conversation going, and for the grace of you, our colleagues, to continue to come and be willing to have the conversation with us. And I love that, be an ally for life, not a hot minute, not a moment in time, right? Because that's not how change happens. And it just broke my heart. There were so many things in there that breaks my heart, Nicole. But, the one thing, it was funny. I don't even know if you did it. You probably subconsciously did it, but you said, when you were saying something in there about so that eventually, with the industry, in relation to the industry, we can be on the same footing. And then you quickly adjusted it and said, or at least almost the same footing.
Yes.
See right there. It's just that it just made me just skip a beat there. I get it to a certain extent when, I've mentioned this before with women's lib. And it's funny because I just recently picked up a little book of Ruth Bader Ginsburg quotes. Actually, one with Maya Angelou quotes and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she is a pioneer in women's rights. I mean, the only woman in a class of 500 in her law, school, and all of these things. And her quotes are so fierce in fighting for the equality of women, and that's a good thing, right? And that's necessary. And what I mean to say in that is, I thought that that experience was similar, but it's not. It's like the way M&Ms are, similar to Snickers. They're just both candy, so they're both just bias and racism, but one is so much more at its core, I think, I guess, inbred and widespread, and because I don't do that knee jerk anymore. I don't do that knee jerk where I'm like, well, women can do what men can do. Well, almost can we get there? Like, you see what I'm saying? And it's like, and it's so real for the Black community to know that the struggle is so huge still, right?
Yes. Well, it's hundreds of years of a gap,
right,
from slavery that we're trying to catch up to. So until you stop the race, right? It's, I ran track in high school. Shamefully nowhere near Usain Bolt and Shelley Ann Fraser's level, right? Much to my family's dismay, because there was track scholarships to be had. But you cannot run a race and 400 years ahead and just keep running. For us to catch up, you got to stop.
Right. We have to stop and turn and look and say, "Come with."
Say, okay, all right. I'm gonna sit over here on this little brick.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna catch some water for you. Get you some Gatorade. Get you some fruit, and so you can hydrate and get caught up. And that's it. That's the magic of stop and reach behind you and pull someone along. And I want to give you some examples in our own design community of what we see as Black designers and what we need our white colleagues to do. For example, and you did it. Let me tell you how. I have been doing this for a long time, 15 years in totality. And I never knew how to get on a panel at High Point Market. I had no idea. There's no school. I don't have a publicist or an agent. I just figured I'm just going to figure it out on my own. So I didn't know how to get on a panel. But guess what? Every market, twice a year, the panels are done. And it seemed to me from the outside looking in, it was like a circle, like an inner circle that was always chosen. All the panels were all white women or white men. And once in a while, you would see one or two Black designers sprinkled in. And that was it. It was the same all the time, right? And then you and I spoke, and you said, oh, my God, can you do a panel? And I was like, great. That's what I'm talking about. You saw my niche, which is renovations and big construction ticket items, and said, oh, my God, here's a woman who knows her thing. Anytime I have this panel, I need to have her on it or let people know who Nicole is. And from that, I got onto another panel. So that is what I'm talking about. All the white colleagues who had sat by over the years and just had themselves and their friends on these panels repeatedly, but they always knew Black designers who they called colleagues and friends, but not once did one person say, wait a minute, hold up.
Right.
Why are we always the same people on the panel here? Right. I know Nicole. I know Veronica. I know Erica. I know all these other talented Black women who do exactly what I do every freaking day of the week. Why didn't you invite her? Those comments, that never happened. And it could not have happened because we never saw it. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's one thing to tell me, we're colleagues and hey, and let's kiki and chat on Instagram. But until you speak up in a room and say, stop the presses, why isn't this panel more inclusive consistently? And that's what we need to see. We need to see whenever you see publications who feature the same designers, and there's one designer who I actually know, and I won't name names, but there was a point where I thought, is she on the board of Domino magazine? Because every project she features, every time I open my email, it's her project. Yeah. And I thought, this is so outrageous to me as a journalist too, right? Because how is this happening? How is this person featured every month in this magazine? And yet when we pitched to these magazines, there was always a hurdle. Well, the project's too old. It's not pink enough. It's not blue enough. And just getting featured, it's not an easy thing, as most designers know, because there's some lazy journalists out there who just, feature their friends. And so that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Did that designer ever say to herself, why don't I refer another person?
Right.
Hey, stop featuring me. I know I have met Nicole and I have met so-and-so, and they have a great story and their designs are fire. Feature them. Right. That's what has to happen.
No,
you have
it's
to
true.
Stop being selfish. Stop claiming the entire pot for yourself and open and give someone else a chance to come through the door. And that is what I'm looking for. And I'm paying close attention to that now in who I call friends and allies in this design world. And I will tell you, since this movement started, and we all saw the flood of new followers on Instagram and the people who, were doing the Black Lives Matter hashtag temporarily, I unfollowed a lot of colleagues because I noticed, one, they were not following. They were telling their followers to go follow, Black designers, and they were not following any themselves. And I thought, this is unbelievable, right?
Yes.
You're not even acknowledging the, pick 10 of the, the most known Black designers out there, but you're going to tell, you're not following a single one. And then you just to be politically correct, you're going to tell, you put up the hashtag and they did the mute, whatever that mute campaign was.
Right.
They did it, and that was it. And I paid attention to that. And I just said, well, you know what? I'm just going to reciprocate this love over here and not follow you. Yes. Because if you're not paying attention to what I'm doing, but I have been watching you and liking your stuff and commenting and being a good colleague, and you can't return the favor, then, just deuces to you. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for action.
I hear you.
Action and not this mouth, not just talking the talk. Like, walk it with me, or unfriend me in life and on Instagram.
Right,
like,
right.
Good.
Be true both ways.
Be true.
Right.
Be true both ways. When you see me, you should be able to say, I really connect with Nicole. I understand her story. I see what I can really understand now what it must be like for her to have be a Black woman immigrant, right, who has built a business from scratch, and still been able to give back, and still been able to raise her son and talk about her son and train and mentor a lot of other young designers and keep doing badass work, right?
Right.
So I want to really hang out with her and get to know her holistically, not just to say, oh, I know her, but I don't really know her.
Right.
So I have edited my circle somewhat by paying attention. And I've also embraced a lot of new people who just are really there, who are really like, man, hell no. I did not know this, and I read this, and I need you to know that I read this. Yeah. What can I do? Exactly. And they're really following other designers of color and really showcasing them and spotlighting them. And I have had so many conversations now in the DMs from huge account holders on Instagram who were before there's no way I would know her or him or talk to them, but they're genuinely like, checking in what's going on, and we're negotiating right now behind the scenes how to do some collabs together. That's what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
This didn't just end, and a lot of this started with Albie's, share the mic, which was phenomenal,
Yes.
right? So I mean, Albie just took it and ran and did such a great job. But my point is, a lot of those share the mic moments, they did not end there. A lot of us still talk.
Right.
Still just say, we're all, some of us are parents, and we're struggling with this virtual life for the kids. So so that's what I'm talking about. We can relate now, and you can understand us a little better because the conversation has started. So that's what I want to see. I want to see real action happening, and not just this pseudo, I followed 10 new Black designers today. Like, get out of here with that.
Right. Now, I hear what you're saying. And, for me, that this isn't a new thing for me. As you said,
right.
I invited you to be on the panel a year ago because exactly that. I didn't think, I need a Black designer on the panel. I went, I need a rock star who can talk this topic. And, in hindsight, I was always able to find someone from every walk of life and every background and color. But the thing about it is, it reminds me of, I have learned that the sentence, I don't see color, is not a good sentence. Okay. I've learned this. All right. And
you have to see it.
Right. And the thing is, I guess for me, I can only say in that regard, okay, even going forward, what I'm saying is, in hindsight and in learning and in these last several months of all these conversations, I know it's important now to always see color. To your point, Nicole, to say, how is it in your life, and how is it with Xavier getting older? And now, and when I see you in a year or 2 years, it's 10, it's 11, it's 12.
Yes.
Like, what are the new struggles? That is a part that I will own all day long, that it never would have occurred to me when you and I sat there and we have drinks and we hang out. I would say, how is Xavier? But it would never have occurred to me to add the extra part of the concern and care of what is it like for him as he reaches his teenage years, right?
And that is the point, LuAnn.
Yes,
that right there.
That is it. That is it.
Understanding of, okay, I see Nicole churning out design project after design project, but we're all watching Xavier's growth, right?
Yes.
And I tell you something, like, Xavier is like the true rock star. Like, clients call me now and they're like, is Xavier going to be at the consult? Like,
it's so adorable.
Like, it's funny. We're doing a project in Jersey, and the clients, when we FaceTime, they're like, where's Xavier? And I'm like, this kid, like, he's like the star here, right? So, well, let me just explain very clearly how important that is. Xavier and we live across the street from a park. And, I had not ridden a bike in forever. And so he was adamant that I get back on a bike because there's nothing else to do.
COVID,
and ride with him. So he and his dad got me a bike for Mother's Day, and I was there embarrassing myself in the park trying to learn to ride a bike again. And I saw this police car in the park all the time, just parked, never showed his face. And I said, this is what I'm talking about. The reason there's so many police shootings of Black people is that you don't get to know your community. And so I knocked on the cop's door. I said, enough of this. I can't be in this park every day, and there's this cop, and he does not know who we are, right? So I knocked on his thing, and he wound the window down, and I said, hey, officer, I see you here every day. Is everything okay? Because I'm a taxpayer right here.
Right.
And he says, no, it's just that everybody's in the parks, and, I'm just asked to patrol here and make sure, nothing's going on. And I said, listen, I want you to know my name is Nicole. This is my son, Xavier. I need you to get to know who we are, because I don't want, when he's a teenager in this neighborhood, something happens and you don't know him. I want you to look at him, and I want him to, when you see us, we need to have conversations. And he was so moved. He was like, he had never done that. Like, he had never stopped to think. And he's the community police officer.
Wow.
But who had not tried to get to know the community.
Right. Hello.
So this is right after George Floyd. So of course I was a little apprehensive, right?
Yes.
But I was like, it has to change. And so now I feel good. I go to the park, I see him, he says, "What's up?" We talk. But now I know that if something happens to Xavier as a teenager and he's on the road and there is some incident, if that's the officer who is called, he could stop and say, "Wait a minute. I know that kid.
I know this
And
kid."
that's so important. He's not a stranger to you. And so I took that on myself to say, let's have a dialogue with this police officer. And I will tell, he was a white officer, and he said to me, "Nicole, I want you to know what I saw with the George Floyd thing was unbelievable. I want you to know that as a police officer, my heart broke to see that. So this conversation would not have happened.
Good for you, though, Nicole, to take the initiative, a sin that you needed to, that anybody would need to, because you're right. Whether you're black or white, a cop that shows up every single day to the same park to, quote unquote, be there for the protection of the people utilizing the park, you think he'd get to know them. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's like going to a consult with a customer, a client, and not wanting to talk to them. It's like, what are we doing here?
Exactly. So that's what I did. So now, when Xavier and I go, we say, "Hey, what's up, Officer Smith?" And he's like, "We're good. What's going on, Xavier? You're getting tall." That's important. Yes. It's very important that there is a sense of who we are. We're not, he's not a threat, and he's a tall kid. He's 8 and everyone thinks he's 12. Wow. So I know his life. He's going to be viewed as this tall black kid. Is he aggressive or not? As his mom and his dad, his dad and I are divorced, but as he goes into the world every day, I worry for him. Like, he's a tall black man who's smart and is not going to just roll over and be disrespected, but he has had to learn over the years how to speak to the police, to survive. And so these are the things that in the design world and in life that your colleagues are dealing with. And that is why it's important to just say, "Hey, how are you really doing? What's, and so it's happening. I'm seeing more folks checking in just mentally, how are you doing? And it was very hard right after Floyd and Breonna. And I think I did a live where I just said, I didn't even know what to say anymore. I didn't even know, was it fair to talk about some damn paint color on Instagram? Right.
It felt funny.
How petty, how trivial is this right now to talk about my new project and my new clients and whatever. And people were like, no. Talk about both. Talk about your life and what you're feeling, and still design. We need it. And so I was happy to see that this dialogue, is going to continue. But, to that point, LuAnn, I think to move forward, as I said, it's important that designers who are colleagues, remain allies. And I will give you an example and why it's important to just care and give a crap. 2 years ago, or was it a year? COVID has me losing track of time and life. I tell you what black designers face, right? I was invited to I'm trying to think, should I name the brand? I'm not going to disparage them. So anyway, I went to a Sub-Zero event, right? Okay. And it was designers from all around the country invited. And these things are just, the brand sponsors everything.
Right, pays for all of that, everything, right.
And I'm on the bus riding with a designer, and we start talking about our businesses and da-da-da. And she's like, and everyone knows I did not go to design school. This is a known fact. It's not been a secret. I am completely self-taught. And I told her that, and she looked at me like I had grown 50 horns. And she was like, "What do you mean? Then how are you here? Why are you here?" And I was like, "What, Rich? What did you say to me?" Right? And this is what I'm saying, the audacity of this designer. And I was so pissed, right? I didn't go off on her at the time. I was just like, "Listen, we're going to end this conversation because I'm clearly here for a reason, right? You cannot be in a Sub-Zero event if you're not in a certain caliber of work."
Chops. Yeah.
So, I was I was hurt because I was like, I can't believe I've been doing this for so long, and here it is, I'm being questioned, my talent. And I knew because I'm black, right? And I was so hurt and annoyed and just like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm doing this for over 10 years. And another designer who I'd befriended very briefly the night before saw me, and my demeanor had clearly changed, even though I was trying to just like play it off.
We're hurt, right?
Yeah, and she saw it. She saw it right away. And she came up to me and she said, "What's happened?" And I was like, "Nah, let's just go into the event." And she was like, "Nicole, what happened? Like, something happened on this ride." And I said, "Man, I said, I'll talk to you, but I want to tell you, but let's not get into it." And I told her, she was like, "Oh my God." And she's a white designer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Who is it? I need to just show me the face." Like, she was ready to go to bat. She was like, "I cannot believe somebody said that to your face. Tell me the person, because I need to step to her." That's what I'm talking about. Immediate ally. Was like, how dare her question you and what you bring to the table here? She would never do that. And let me tell you, the main speaker at the event was Mick DeJulio, kitchen czar to the stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? He did not go to design school. And so here it was, you were disparaging me,
right? Not
being qualified to be there at this event. And the main speaker, who designed most of Sub-Zero's facilities, had never been to, and you would have never said that to him.
And
ever.
So that's what I want to ask you, Nicole. In there, you knew that it was, like, in other words, if you were a white designer, it was clear to you that she probably would have been as appalled, because she thinks education is the reason why anybody should pass the bar to get to that event. But because you're a black designer, you feel like she had, she just was callous enough to say it to your face because less care.
Exactly. Less care. She didn't even pretend to
So you really think if you were white, she would not have said that to you? She might have thought it, but she wouldn't have said it. That's the nuance, is what you're saying to us.
Exactly.
Okay.
She may have thought it, but listen, I am pretty sure we all did our work on who DeJulia was and is. There's so many white designers who have never been, like Joanna Gaines. Hello. It's
like you don't have the education and you're black. What the heck?
Yeah, what the heck? But
and meanwhile, it's like, what's it your business? You're sitting on the bus too, so I'm
on the bus.
Yeah, but I mean, you're on the bus. She's on the bus, so whatever. I mean, and that is just such a crazy thing, because you're right. I'm hearing you. The criteria of no education doesn't seem like the likely thing to be surprised at. Some of the biggest icons in our business do not have an education in interior design. I mean, that's not unknown, right?
Exactly.
That's not unknown. I hear your point. And
that was why it was so, but that's
horrible.
That's the kind of built-in racism I'm talking about. That this is a known fact for a lot of huge name designers, that they didn't go to design school. And I preach all day long. I cannot take that from anyone. You went to design school,
great.
Praise the Lord, great. But there are others of us who took a different path.
Right.
And so the fact that I'm on the bus.
Right. Like, I'm on the bus. I was invited. Here. Right. I didn't hitch a ride. Come in the back door.
The bus driver did not pick me up on the street corner. Right. How dare you? And that is the audacity.
Can I ask you a follow-up to all of that? Because I remember when I interviewed Kay Whitaker for Black Lives Matter, she was on the show 4 or 5 times, but for the Black Lives Matter show, we had a discussion. And if you remember, what she was explaining was how Kay lives in a neighborhood where there are way more white people than there are black families. And so she said that her children are socialized this way. They're, but their friends are the same, blah, 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 right? And she said, but where it will come out is maybe when they go to a neighborhood birthday party, and her and her husband and the kids will walk in, and maybe one of her son will walk by somebody, and they just do the whole clutching the pocketbook, any horrible thing that happens. And I remember I said to her, first of all, aren't these your friends? And she says, don't forget, Granny's been invited and Aunt Bessie has been invited. And these people at that, even though their friends may be their friends, but they have family members who carry these long built-in racism things, right? And so the thing was, we were talking about, what do you want from your white friend in that moment? And I asked her, I said the same. I said, so in that moment, I'm your white friend. I'm in the living room. I see Granny do that horrible motion movement, whatever it is that she does. What do you want me to do? And she told me how to do and what to handle that. And so what I want to ask you, Nicole, is, so this other designer comes up. She says, no, tell me. And you told her, and you said that's being an ally. So is the next step, look, you know me, I ask the most specific questions under the planet because I want to know exactly how to do something and how to get what I want to, get for somebody else or to be or whatever. So in that exact moment, is that for the white ally friend of yours to go over to the other one and privately or publicly, whatever, and say, you're out of line? Or were you like, I'm telling you, but I don't want a scene here. I don't want you to do anything, but just her caring was her allyship. So clear it up for me, because I want to make sure if I am ever in that situation with you, Nicole, I'm going to tell you what, if you tell me come to your defense publicly, I'm there, lady. I'm there.
Okay. Well, let me say a couple of things.
But that's also feels a little that's what I'm saying. I really want to know.
Okay. Two things. Number one, I don't, if anyone knows me well, I am not.
You're not shy.
Who's shy
right.
or who will not set somebody straight. Like, let me just let you be clear of that I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, and I will set you straight. Right. So I didn't. Here's the irony. I was happy in the allyship as a immediate concern from this other designer.
Concern.
And that she was willing to go to battle. I didn't need her to fight the battle. But I respected her willingness because she was like, if you need us to beat this chick, like, I'm here, right?
We're going to hang her up by her panties, Nicole.
And I was like, I'm not trying to be caught on some channel, some news channel, beating up some chick. That's not the need. But here's, I leave things to the Lord. And let me say, this is what the Lord did. The Lord presented the featured designer as someone who did not go to design school.
Right.
And I watched her face when he said that, and she went red. So she was served.
That's it.
I didn't need to say a word to her.
Karma
because
took
that
all
was
care of
handled
it.
by karma. Yeah, I didn't need to step to her. I had already dismissed the conversation. Like, listen, and I said to her, listen, as qualified, my love, as qualified, because I am on the bus, okay?
That's
so
it.
I kept moving. But yeah, I didn't need the other designer.
No, I hear you.
Step to her. So yeah, the allyship
it was the gesture of seeing your...
The willingness.
Yes.
The willingness.
Yes.
And
to the whole thing that we're saying, right? And to the whole thing that we're saying is to be willing to have the hard conversation with you, to not just, think or imagine and just not give the moment for you to say your feelings about it, right? That's what we're talking about. I am different, and acknowledge that I'm different, and people will treat me differently because of that. And if you're my friend, you can handle that conversation, right?
Exactly. And that was it. And I will shout her out. This is I know you know her. It's just Jenny from Black Ink Interiors.
Oh my gosh.
She's that kind of we are now good friends because immediately she was like, whoa. Who said this to you? So anyway, that is the point. You have to care, and not just superficially, but be willing to say, someone hurt my friend,
right?
And it was underlying racism involved in that, because if you were white, it wouldn't even been asked.
Right.
It would have been assumed. Well, the assumption is that we're all here, so we are all here for a reason.
Right.
So
you're not on a random bus going to an ice cream shop. You are on your way to an invited designer event where you have been selected based on the criteria of your professional skills.
That is it. And that is what I'm saying, LuAnn. That is the hurdle that Black designers face consistently. It is the assumption always that, A, how did you get invited here? B, okay, you're here, so what's your qualifications? Show me the paper. Show me every single thing. Did you go to here? Did you go to here? Who'd you know? Who'd you meet? That's it. And if it's a white colleague, no questions are asked. And we're saying enough of that. Judge me fully on the strength of this work. And I will go head to head, toe to toe any day with a designer about my work.
Right.
So let's be clear. If we want to go there, we can go there. But that's the thing. Stop having these preconceived notions that, Black designers are not as talented. Or the other thing I have done and said categorically I'm not doing, I don't want to be on your Black History Month list of designers to follow. Don't call me for that. Like,
right.
that happened this year, and I was like, don't bother.
Right.
Do not call me about the top 10 Black designers you should know. That is now offensive. Feature our work all year.
Right,
That's
all
it.
the time, because I'm good at what I do and because I have value in what I'm going to say, right?
Right. That's it. And so those are the kind of conversations. And were their editors offended? And could they put other designers on the list? Hell yeah, I don't care anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have put in my time in this business. I have a lot I still want to do, but I have the standing now to say no to certain things and to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I said, listen, stop with these lists. Just feature the designer consistently.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
And then you wouldn't need the list.
Right. Right. Look around at everyone who is producing good work and pick based on that criteria.
That's it.
But don't look past people that are Black because, like, I think that's really what it is, right? It's that there have always been, like you mentioned, Domino, like you mentioned, you feel like there's been places where you just don't get a look because you're Black. And that is no better than getting the look because you are Black. It's just, how about the work? Is my work
good?
The
work?
Right.
And that's it. And let me say this to the press, and as someone who was on the other side of the fence as a reporter for a long time, I know BS in the press when I see it, right? So I would pitch to I've gotten a lot of press because I understand the press game and I have built relationships. But I spent years trying to knock on certain magazine doors and it was always a hurdle. Well, you didn't do the entire house, you didn't do this. There was always a hurdle. And then I would push back and say, but you don't feature only the entire homes. I saw this feature and you just did a bathroom here. But that's what they tell us. Oh. The hurdle is always higher for us.
Right.
And so I've called that out. And so now I'm negotiating now with a couple magazines because I'm like, stop lying.
Right.
Like, you do not, and stop it. Like I've laid out. You featured this white designer's work 5 times in a 1-page feature about a specific project and this element, not the whole house. Don't tell me. Right. Don't give me this hurdle. And that's what they have done. And that's what I think every Black designer, when you're pitching to the press and they tell you some BS that you didn't do this, you didn't do that, push back. Send them a screenshot of their own magazine and say, that's a lie. You did this right here. And that's what you have to do. Don't take it as a given that, I didn't have enough or that. No. Show them the proof that your own page is not devoted to only features. And that's what I saw over the years. And I think the pushback and Black Lives Matter is I'm seeing a lot of us getting press this year. Finally, insanely talented Black designers. Like, the work is next level. Yes. And we're just getting into Architectural Digest. We're just getting into Lux. Come on. Right. We were always there, but you made the hurdles so ridiculous. And I think enough of us have said enough. And I will say, Mulaney who started Black Bad, the Black Artists Design Guild, was like shouted the loudest, like, enough. Like, stop telling us you can't find them. So guess what she and a bunch of other designers did? Here's a list. Here's a directory, right? Yes. Like, okay, I'm going to help you out, literally.
Right.
So when you tell me,
here's your cheat sheet. It's ready for you.
Here's your cheat sheet.
Right.
I can't find a Black designer in Florida. You're a liar. Go in here, put in Florida, and here's 10 names. Done.
You're a liar.
That's they have no excuses anymore. There's literally directories. They could call BAD. They could reach out to the Black Interior Design Network. There's lists. There's lists and there's names. Yes. And so the lies and this laziness has come to it. It has to stop because you no longer can keep hiding behind and saying, I don't know. I didn't know there was 10 Black designers in Texas or in Florida. There's a list.
Well, I love, Nicole, that, the advice in there, the really important thread of advice in there is to be right about what you say. So, for example, it's, I'm reminded of the shows with Amy Fleury that's been on when she has given us the advice on how to pitch, right? Her book, Recipe for Press, right? And, the advice, the sound business advice in there is to know the magazine or the outlet that you're pitching to, and to pitch the type of projects that they feature. And so this is a little nuance on that sound business advice, is if you pitch a one-room project, then to your point, know that they do take one-room projects. And then when they tell you no, that, right, I'm with you. Call it right out. Yes, you do. Here's 6 of them from the last year. You know what I mean? Sorry, but should I send you your own tear sheets, right? But the idea is that you have to know, because then that's the power in getting somebody to stop in their tracks and either lie again, okay, or actually face their own bad business practices and have the opportunity to at least get them to think about making a change, right? But it has to be true. So don't pitch, do
your research.
Yes. That's always goes with anything we do in business. It's good business first, right?
Right. And I will never call you out unless I've done my work. So yes, when I was a reporter, the one thing we hated from publicists, I am like the education reporter, and you're pitching me a science piece. Like, did you not study the math? You're going to
start talking to the choir here on this one.
Yeah. know your audience. So pitch accordingly. And that is my press advice to young designers out there who complain, I don't get featured. Well, who did you pitch to the right publication? Did you pitch the right feature? And that's a whole nother podcast, right?
That's right. And we've done dozens of them on that. And so that's why I love that you mentioned that nugget in there, because that does have to be true. Because if that's true, now you take their legs away. That's your point, right? If it's true, take their legs away and call them out.
The legs have been taken away, and now we're seeing the flood of deserved press for insanely talented designers. I mean, the other thing they would say is, well, the clients aren't millionaires, or the project level is not where so and so is, and the money, and it's not the same caliber, it's not custom. And then you're like, well, here's 5.
Like,
here's 5 projects where the clients are known and the budget was high. Like, come on now. So don't disparage us. Don't tell us we don't have clients who are millionaires, who are celebrities. We all do. Some of us are at that point. We've been doing this for a while, and we've earned that option now to spend crazy budgets, And so feature us the same way you put someone else who has the same sort of luxury client. So that's, listen, we can talk about this all day. I just know that it's important for this industry to just give us what we're due, right? Stop lying and say you don't know where to find us. We are right there.
Right.
Do your homework. Give us the branding deals that you give others. Pay us the influencer rates, because a lot of us are huge on Instagram and we deserve it. Give us the opportunity. Listen, I'm dying to get product lines going. That's my next turn in life. I do a lot of I want to have a tile line. I want to have a wallpaper line, paint, whatever the lines are. And whoever is listening and who knows how to make that happen, give me a call. So, I have the influence, and I put in the work.
That's right.
So when you're knocking on doors and trying to figure out who next can we have, as the designer to have on board, then hey. So that's where I am. I'm just like, listen, let's have these long-term allyships. Let's have the conversation forever.
Right.
Forever.
Right.
Let's keep at this.
Well, as long as it's necessary till it's not necessary, right?
Right. And we know it's going to be a while, but let's just keep going at it. When you see me at market, whenever that happens again, and we all go, let's have drinks and have some real talk.
Right.
Real talk.
Right.
Not just superficial crap. How are you doing?
Right.
How are you managing to churn? How are you staying creative, Nicole, when you couldn't sleep for a week after seeing that black man die on TV and thinking, what if that was my son? Like, that was the thing for me, that I could not breathe, because I was like, I cannot imagine the pain of a mother seeing her, like, his life mattered at nothing.
I know. I know.
And
It's
he
horrible.
just couldn't stop. It was horrible. So
No. Yeah.
that's where we are. Let's keep going. Let's stand up for the designers in the community, and offer them up to press editors, and when they see a feature is coming up and they're like, I don't know who to call. Call so and so, right?
Right.
Give up the goods and spread the love. So, and let's just keep working and being genuine in this business. That's all I gotta say.
I know. Well, I love it. You said, you know what? That's all you got to say. You said it well, and I'm grateful for it. No, I really am, Nicole. For me, that's it. I just am grateful. I'm just grateful for you taking the time and sharing your opinions and your heart on this, because with every little bit, it's the truth, is to keep the conversation going, keep the allyship going, and the little nuggets along the way, keep peeling back the layers and the understanding so that we as your white colleagues can show up fully for you. And
fully, yes.
That's the thing, to show up fully.
And to not be quiet in the room when it's obvious that we're not there.
Right.
Just say, this meeting is adjourned.
That's it. That's it.
There is no representation here.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I love you, lady. I really do. I always love working with you.
I'll see you whenever.
I know. The next time we can all be in person. So, but thank you. And, give a big hug to Xavier for me. He is just such a love.
I will. He'll be on your podcast one day, I
That's
swear.
It.
Bye,
all right. Have a great day.
All right, darling. Bye.
Bye. Such a powerful lady, right? I mean, I, for one, am not at all surprised that she's built an amazing, successful business from scratch. Nicole is talented, and she really shows up with confidence in everything she does, and I love that about her, okay? And I have to say, whether it's on the bus or in the press, she's a fierce advocate, not just for herself as a Black designer, but for Black people within every trade. And it is crazy to hear her experience on the bus at that luxury design event. My brain fries at this, all right? And that's just the thing. This is the huge lesson, that it is hard for some of us to imagine what our Black friends have gone through and continue to go through every day, much less at a high-end business event. But that is exactly why we're having this conversation, right? So that we can imagine, so that we can see the reality that maybe we didn't see before. All right. I know for me, I have learned so much through these conversations with our friends on the Black Lives Matter series. Okay. And I'm thankful to each of them and to Nicole for being willing to have this conversation. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for Nicole to talk about the horror that she felt when she watched George Floyd on the news, right? Or that event, how she was belittled on the bus at that luxury design event. All right. And it's hard. It's hard to hear it, but imagine it's hard to live it. Like, we don't get a pass on, it's hard to hear it, right? And so what is Nicole's encouragement for all of us? All right. She pointed out several things that we can do to be a positive difference. All right. The first thing is, I love it. She's asking for something very simple, something that any one of us can do, no matter where we are, what we're doing, what business we're in. And she has to simply ask and care, and to be willing to listen and to become a lifelong ally. All right. It can be hard to ask these real questions. All right. But Nicole explains that not only is it okay to ask people about how they are really doing, that it's actually the thing that is going to help us come together and truly be an equal community. Right. So Nicole said, all I ever needed is for them to care. Okay. Think about that. All I ever needed is for them to care, to listen about what it's like to be a Black designer, to be a female Black designer. All right. She encourages us to check in regularly with each other, not just when tragedy strikes. This allows each of us to really start to build a relationship with the other and to find a place where it gets more comfortable having the uncomfortable conversations, because that's the only way we really can make a change, is we have to be willing to be uncomfortable, each of us, in a conversation to learn what the other is going through. And right now, this is on us. This is on us as white people, for us to reach out to our friends. Just like Nicole said, reach out, ask me, how am I really doing? How is it really going? If you see Nicole in a year and a half, Xavier will be 14 or 15 by then. How is it really going with Xavier? How is it going? How are you feeling? All right. And the other thing is that she pointed it out, and others have as well, that we have to do our research, that we cannot expect our Black colleagues to teach us everything. And this makes sense. Think about it from a business perspective. Think about if you wanted to start something new in your business. You would not just go to someone and say, teach me from the ground up. Right? If you wanted to learn how to be a better Instagram, have a better Instagram account, and you had a friend or a colleague that you could see was ahead of you, you wouldn't just say, hey, teach me how to do Instagram. You would know. You would go and do everything you can on your own. You would Google it. You would read about it. You would listen to podcasts about it. You would do all of that. And then you'd say, I've got my feet on the ground. I kind of know what I'm doing. How can I do it better? And that's what is our responsibility, is to read and to watch the movies and to listen to the conversations and to understand as much as we can, come to the conversation as white people, as informed as we can, and then ask our Black friend to work us through that nuance of how it affects them and what their life is like, and to teach us how to be a better advocate for them, right? I mean, this is showing up in real life. This is really putting your time into it. And this is you are coming to the table ready to talk, ready to listen, and ready to build a lasting allyship. All right. And I have to say that one of the favorite things that I think that Nicole did was that she is leading by example. She's not just saying, do this, be this way. The fact that she went out of her way to knock on the police car and introduce herself and her son to the local police officer, that was amazing, right? She started first. She was the first one to change. She was the first one to say, I don't want this relationship for me and my son with this police officer in our community. And so now her and her son, now her and Xavier have a healthy relationship with a police officer who is happy to be involved and get to know them. All right. So I think we can all go out of our way. We can all speak up when something is not right. And like Jenny Slingerland, right? How crazy. I never heard that story from Nicole before. Jenny never happened to tell me that story before. But to just find out that, Jenny is out there and willing enough to be a good friend and to recognize that another designer, another colleague was unsettled. She had no idea what she was going to learn, but she wasn't willing to just say, oh, well, she doesn't look good. She wanted to find out. That is a friend. Stick around long enough to listen, to build a relationship, to build a friendship. Okay, that is what happens. All right. Now, it is really, really helpful to have these conversations, isn't it? I'm finding it helpful. And this is what we do here on the show. It's about the conversation. It's not the top layer. And if you remember, if you were part of LuAnn Live, it's what LuAnn Live was about too. And so we are ramping up for LuAnn Live. It's going to be in February 2021. It is coming. I want you to be there with me. I want you to join me. It will be a virtual event. It will be a virtual event unlike anything you have been to before. If you want to be on the list, go to LuAnnLive.com and you will be the first to know what's going on. All right. And so I just have to say that there are a lot of ways to show up and be excellent. And one of the best ways that I can see and feel and think is what Nicole said, is to be a lifelong ally. This is a true call to action. All right. So think about it, look in the mirror, figure out how you can do it. All right. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.